I went to Cartagena, Colombia in search of world-class nightlife, only to be met by horse and carriage gridlock and spent more time trying to not get run over in these tiny streets than I did going to clubs. All the streets here are tiny one-way alleys with barely any sidewalk that are hilariously shared by cars, horse and buggies, street peddlers, bicyclists, and drunk people. They also serve as a performance stage for these Michael Jackson performers, causing even more gridlock. Alright, so it is a very old city, and part of this pandemonium makes it so fun at night. It also creates a booming market for entrepreneurs. These people were serving liquor on the streets, which I'm pretty sure is illegal, but they seem to get away with it. And one of the reasons this old town lasted so long is due to this gigantic wall surrounding the area. Donald Trump would have done real well if he ran for election here. But unlike Trump's wall, this one is extremely easy to climb. Just hop on one of these stone on-ramps scattered throughout the outskirts of the city. But you better have Obamacare or some sort of health insurance, because it's extremely easy to fall off. There are very few guardrails along this wall. So the nightlife here isn't only about clubbing. By the clock here in the center of town, there are tons of free performances you can watch, assuming you leave a tip. Or if you can't afford a tip like me, you can be like these people and stare at a wall. That's literally what I thought they were doing until I crossed the quarter and saw the projector. There are also surrounding plazas where they seem to have art on display. These two guys were having a real good time, it looked like. If you do want to go clubbing, the party doesn't really start until at least 10 p.m. This lady certainly didn't like me filming and wasn't going to let me in. And due to these buildings being so old, having tiny entryways, there were really no windows or way to see inside of the club before going in. I know this is common with most clubs, but in Playa del Carmen, all the clubs were kind of outdoors and you could see what's going on inside before waiting in this gigantic line. So I instead just walked around and did some club peeping using my iPhone's zoom feature. So you can see this one wasn't very crowded yet. It was still early in the night, but you can get a sense of the atmosphere in here. It looks pretty nice, but it's not a place I'd want to go alone, to be honest. I did go into this club alone. It's a place called Delirium, because it was just a restaurant earlier in the evening. The food was actually pretty good, but it turns into a dance club later on. So I continued wandering around doing my club peeping as I got odd looks from all the bouncers who definitely wouldn't let me in after filming them. The use of these spotlights is also pretty prevalent, which is great if you get lost. You can just follow the spotlights to the nearest club. Though not to be outdone, the main club in this town resorted to fireworks to outdo all the other clubs. And they of course also use these gigantic spotlights to attract this parade of people walking over from Boca Grande. There were throngs of them just hanging out by the docks, drinking beer and eating street food, watching the party across the street. You could hear the music for free, so it actually wasn't too bad. Though this looked like a pretty difficult club to get into, you had to have either a ticket or a boat, of which I had neither at the time. It looked like this was the place where you got let into the venue, right next to this fountain with some guy getting splashed in the face with someone else behind him. This is the closest footage I could get without falling into the water, but it looks really fun, and I regret not planning ahead of time so I could attend this event. There are also a few boats in the harbor, and it looks like they did tourist sailings with food and drink. You may want to check that out, but I heard they got mixed reviews. Also, I think that's more of a daytime thing. And speaking of daytime, that's when I like to go out. You're more likely to meet other singles and you have a plausible excuse for why you're out drinking, like you went to pick up your dry cleaning. This here is the Clock Pub. It's right next to the clock tower in the center of town. And at nighttime, they have live music and it gets packed. I think this is a great alternative to a club if you're like me and prefer something more laid back. Another great spot is this German beer hall called Leon de Baviera. They play rock music and have a pretty friendly crowd. My only complaint is for a German beer hall, they only have 2 types of beer on tap. Everything else comes from the bottle. Another good spot for beer lovers is Beer Lovers. They have like 16 beers on tap you can try, which is great. And if you dislike walking or just want to hear a lot of loud Spanish music, you can check out these Shiva Rumberas. They're basically like party buses, and I swear I saw them literally every minute in Boca Grande at around 8 p.m. They were all over the place. This is a very popular thing to do if you want to get driven around and dropped off at bars, I'm guessing. So that's Cartagena nightlife. It's a really unique experience partying in such an old historic town with so many people around you. I really enjoyed it. My only regret is I didn't get a ticket to that huge party, so go and check that out if you come by Cartagena, Colombia. Thanks for watching until the end.